Oh my gosh! We're finally back together. Obviously, the now infamous within the Just Another Football Podcast kind of co-host group. I made the error right and streamed the thing on Twitch, and then it didn't go out. So we're finally back.
And what was so annoying, Ali, is I made a prediction for every single Premier League fixture correctly. I got them all spot on, and it was all just lost. And we'll never get to hear it again.
I implore the listeners to believe it. To believe the fact that Fergal made all these correct predictions.
I called Klopp leaving. I said it on that podcast. Yeah, totally. My inside sources are saying, and it was just never going to get to hear that.
Yeah, it was breaking news. We actually had the first word on it. And then he left, and it became mainstream news. And we will get into that, of course, today. Obviously, I made 2 videos about Jurgen Klopp so far. One with Lewis from Good Sports Reviews. We kind of reminisce about Klopp and just it was like a therapy session, really. And then the other one is way more practical in terms of how Xabi Alonso is the best fit, in my opinion, for the job. But we will get into that. But Fergal, you've been away from the podcast technically for a couple months now.
Nearly 3.
Yeah. And in all of that time, nothing has changed at Chelsea, apart from the fact that it has turned into an even worse run of games up until this point than last season. You lost this weekend to Wolves 4-2. Abysmal, right? Talk
it was 4-1 as well.
Was it 4-1? I got it.
No, it was, what I mean by that, it was 4-1 at one point in the game, and we got a consolation goal.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like it was 2-2 and then they pulled away. They were 4-1 up against us, and then we got a pointless consolation.
Horrific. What? So, okay. About 4 months ago, so I did a video.
When I was back on the podcast.
you were back on the podcast. I did a video, and in it, I kind of talked about the fact that Chelsea might not be totally as bad as we think they are, and they create chances, but they're like Nicholas Jackson was horrendous at goal scoring, scoring his chances that he has to score. And I kind of painted a slightly positive picture, obviously discussing why it was mainly their midfield structure that was holding them back a lot. Has anything changed at that time to now where there is a specific weak point that's totally ruining your results? Or is it why are you so bad? Why are Chelsea so bad? I can't seem to find a definitive answer, Fergal. And nobody else is talking about it because it's become so mainstream.
I think it's just so... Yeah, it's hard to, see, whenever I'm watching the games, it's very easy to zone out. You just, when it goes bad. In-game, where's our weak point? Off the top of my head, I think defensive transitions were probably quite poor in.
Okay.
We seem to be getting done. I suppose that's what a lot of goals come from now, but we just seem to be quite poor in that way. But the main thing for me, I think, is that there's a lack of cohesion, which is maybe a bit stereotypical to say about Chelsea the past 2 years, but it's still true.
Yeah.
And lack of experience.
Yeah.
And what I mean by lack of experience is if we go 1-0 up and we get into our flow, we look okay. We actually look like we might do well, and see the game out, whatever. But as soon as a moment of adversity props up, the team don't have the bottle, the character to get back into it, and the game only really goes one way.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if we went 1-0 up against Wolves, great pass by Caicedo into Palmer.
Yep.
And good goal. And then Wolves score very soon after. I feel like if we maybe had a rode out those 10 minutes, I feel like the players get confident. They maybe get their foot in the ball a bit, and then they build onto a good performance from there. But because the goal came so quickly, I think heads go, and then Wolves. It's not all because Chelsea were bad. Wolves were very good, and then Wolves end up. Pedro Neto plays very well. Cunha hat trick.
Cunha absolutely rinsed Malagusto that game.
Yeah,
He had him
and
on.
Mal Gusto's been one of the better players as well. He's had moments where he looks good, more going forward, and that was always going. That's what all the Leon sort of fans were saying on Twitter that I read whenever he moved to Chelsea.
Yeah.
It was that he's much better going forward than he is defensively. The other thing is so we're missing this experience. We're missing like a spine to the team.
Yeah.
And but then the only bit of experience that we have is Thiago Silva. Well, I suppose you can look at Chilwell there at the weekend, but
Raheem
proper
Sterling.
leadership. Raheem Sterling, yeah, he had an okay game. He progressed the ball quite well in the pockets that he picked it up from. But the point about Thiago Silva is that I don't think he's good enough at the moment either. But I also wouldn't want to drop him because you're missing that leader, especially in defence. And I feel like he could have done better for two or three of the goals against Liverpool. Diego Jota's first goal was just horrendous.
Yeah.
Like,
On a wider point, I think defending for all 4 goals was pretty terrible. But
yeah,
you are right.
but that one especially I thought was just horrible. And Badiashile was there as well, but you'd expect your captain to sort of take control of those defensive moments and put his foot in the ball and just tackle Diego Jota. And in that moment, they were both very square, got a bit of luck with the bounce, but they basically neither of them tackled him, and he just ran through the middle of them. And so yeah, it's all of that, and you feel harsh pointing out Thiago Silva, and then the leadership. Yeah, you've got Chilwell, you got Reece James to a certain extent. Well, he's the captain, so he has to be looked upon as a leader with experience now, Champions League winner. So you've them two, but the two fullbacks, but they're injury prone. Thiago Silva, as I've said, and Sterling, who is quite inconsistent. And then you look at the other players that are now, because of the way that the squad's been built, that you're looking for them to be the leaders. It is Nkunku because of his age and the profile and the hype that he's come into. You're looking for him, but he's first season in the Premier League. I don't even know if how good English he speaks. As I said, not I didn't speak very good English myself there, but yeah, you've got him, you've got Conor Gallagher, um, who Conor Gallagher's just experienced the Premier League,
of like 3 seasons.
Yeah, and then people like Cole Palmer are the players that are stepping up. which is great. It's good that Cole Palmer, he's like the shining light in all this, is that he's actually having a good season. But it's not getting us results. And now there's talk of Poch being for the chop.
Well, there is talk about Mauricio Pochettino getting the sack, which is completely unsurprising. But are Chelsea going to be able to afford it? Because Mauricio Pochettino has quite a large backroom staff. If he goes, everybody goes, and it will cost the club £10 million or something. And that puts FFP into question, potential points deductions and sanctions and the rest of it, which makes Chelsea trapped with Mauricio Pochettino, Fergal. Chelsea are they're stuck with him.
Yeah, I find it hard to blame Graham Potter. I find it hard to blame Pochettino for
honestly,
this.
spot on.
Like it's all down. Like I've been banging the same drum for ages. Like I think I say the majority of Chelsea fans feel like they could have built a better squad than this with the money that was given. Or anybody that plays Football Manager for, I just honestly feel like people just would have planned this better. Players like Mudryk, I was really hoping that I was going to see something that wasn't there before the season. It was just coming in January. Mudryk's offered player. Did you see him offering a fan out to do 1v1 match?
Yeah,
Did you see that?
£10,000 bet. That honestly just looks so bad.
Not only is he not playing well, but then his head is clearly gone as well.
Yeah,
like he's clearly reading everything that's on social media. If he's responding to stuff like that, which is the last thing that he needs to be doing. I can't. In fairness to like footballers nowadays, like I'm a bit older than a lot of them. I'm 26. Even I've grown up in social media, so I don't know how anybody that grows up in social media then wants to become a professional footballer, or once they break through, go, I'm not going to be on social media anymore. It's a very tough thing to do.
yeah.
But he shouldn't be on there looking at it. It's not going to do him any favors, and responding like that isn't going to do it. And as I'm about to say that, or what I'm going to lead on to, is like the money that we paid for him, for a 22-year-old. He's not super young. He's like, and then we've got Hudson-Odoi scoring a goal at the weekend. Now, I know Hudson-Odoi hasn't been totally in the Nottingham Forest side, like he's coming in and out of it, so he's not like an absolute world beater for them.
Yeah,
but he's definitely better than Mudryk.
Right.
Dacho Fofana scored twice as well at the weekend, and we actually own him. We recalled him and sent him out on loan.
Yeah.
And
then you sent Armando Broja to Fulham as well. So the few goals they had are.
Yeah, in fairness, I kind of get the Broja one because he come off an injury. He wasn't really going to get a run of games for Chelsea, and he needs a good run of games. Hopefully, he'll get like the last half of the season now to get back build up his profile again, because he looked great at Southampton, really really good, and he's so unlucky with that injury because he would have got a lot of games with us last season when he was in better form and sort of a better. Yeah, he was unlucky with that. But yeah, now we look at this Chelsea squad, and the most stupid thing is the only way I see us getting out of this is by buying more players. I don't actually see
you're not
how.
wrong.
I don't actually see how we can resolve. We need, basically. My thinking is the atmosphere is so bad at the club, and we've got you've got such a young squad that we need an injection from outside of the club of quality, of standards from outside of the club to raise it. So I think we need to go and buy like a spine of a team, like go and buy a top striker, go and buy uh, like an experienced midfielder, and and maybe another
Oh
experienced
my
centre
God,
back.
Fergal! Neil Maupay has scored for Brentford against Manchester City. It's 1-0.
Good.
Oh my, Neil Maupay as well. This guy rarely ever scores, and then he has two weekends now in a row, two weeks in a row now against Tottenham and Man City.
Whose celebration did he steal this time?
I think it was just a normal knee slide. I think it was a good one as well. Let's see. Well, it was a goal kick, launched up in the air. You know how Brentford are set. Oh, went right the way through to Neil Maupay, and then he just put it. He just 1-on-1 with Ederson, slotted it home. Yeah. Oh, that's great news. That's great news. Because here's a random stat from that game. Erling Haaland has scored against every single Premier League team apart from Brentford. So we'll see. We'll see. This is. It always had the potential of being a banana skin of sorts. We'll obviously go. We'll go on to talk about Liverpool Arsenal. Harry, unfortunately, is not here today. Obviously, our Arsenal representative, a season ticket holder for Arsenal.
He was at the game.
He was at the game, but he has personal things happening, so couldn't be on today. Sadly, we would have celebrated this goal together so much. Gutted. Anyway, carry on.
So we need an injection. We possibly need a centre back an experienced centre back to replace Thiago Silva. So someone, if we could buy Thiago Silva again whenever we bought him initially, that's the sort of signing you'd want again.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he just looks a bit too slow now.
I think he just looks a bit too old. I said at the start of the season he should retire. It's done.
He's whenever he's up against a winger and he's isolated, he's getting beat an awful lot.
And then
which is understandable.
Too often. So I previously on this very episode, I kind of, you said you don't blame Pochettino, and I said spot on, which I like. The majority of the blame isn't, in my opinion, on Mauricio Pochettino, because
he could definitely be doing. He could definitely be doing more. Like we aren't playing well, and he could maybe. There's talk that he moves to a back three, which I'm sort of dreading, but at the same time, I get,
obviously, because there's very little protection in front of. So in the double pivot that Chelsea play, Enzo Fernandez is the one in front of Thiago Silva, who's the less defensive of them. And then you have such an attacking fullback in Ben Chilwell, who's playing for very large parts of last season and this season as a winger.
Yeah, that's how attacking he is. He ends up being a winger sometimes.
Exactly. So you end up with Thiago Silva on an island. Axel Disasi next to him isn't having a great time. Whether it's him, whether it's Badiashile.
I think Disasi's grown on me a little bit. I think he's a wee bit. I thought he looked like a bad sign, but he's really good in the ball. In fairness to him.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking could Trevor Chalobah do well? I wish Fofana hadn't got injured so badly. And now I'm but now with Fofana, I'm like, I don't know what Fofana we're gonna get whenever we do get our hands on him. Is he gonna be good? Because he was incredible for Leicester, and then he's just been so unlucky with injuries.
Yeah, he's had two very big injuries that you don't even
know. 2 season-ending injuries. He's been out for 2 seasons pretty much.
Yeah, so it's gonna take, if he gets anywhere near the level he was at Leicester, it's gonna take an awful long time.
Yeah. Chelsea, we basically need to buy a spine. We need to buy experience, buy quality. and that's the most expensive and what's the word, like, you're not getting bang for your buck with those sort of signings. You're just buying the ready-made player, so there's no savings to be made.
Yeah.
Like Brentford are going to be asking for whatever it is for Ivan Toney if we wanted him. Osimhen's the only other one being talked about, and yeah, the squad's just been so badly built. I think a lot of the signings, they make sense,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just all of them together is the issue. And
Yeah,
in
I
such
kind
a
of agree
short
with that.
space of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mudryk, I think, is a bad signing.
I warned you.
I
I
can't
warned you
see it.
from way
I
back.
said at the time as well. I didn't want us to sign him. Whenever Arsenal were linked with him, I was telling my mate at the time, I don't think you should be signing him. I think it's stupid money. Because at the time you had the option of, like, you could spend similar money on a player like Rafael Leao or the Georgian fella from Napoli that I can never remember how to say his name.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you waited to the summer, those were the other two signings in that sort of price range. You might have to spend more to get those players, but they're real quality. Whereas, you know, Mudryk, 20 odd appearances in Ukraine, and Nathan Collins kept him very quiet when they played Ireland.
Yeah,
And
I do remember you telling me that at the time.
that's the one thing I just took out of my mind whenever he's been getting linked to Chelsea. I was like, because he went into that. I went into that watching that game against Ireland, and
Yeah.
I remember thinking, oh, Mudryk's a name. He's a name that I recognise from the Champions League. There's a little bit of hype around him. We'll have to watch him up against Ireland. And I was really happy with Nathan Collins that day. I was like, oh, this good game, Nathan. But yeah, so it's back to square one near enough for Chelsea.
Yeah.
At the same, I don't feel like Poch should be sacked, but the other way of thinking about it is it's another way of injecting something from outside the club. It's a way of kicking everybody, or kicking stuff into gear is a managerial change, freshen things up. It's the oldest trick in the book to do that sort of thing.
Yeah. New
Um,
manager bounce and stuff.
so it might be the cheapest option we have. If you're looking at, do we spend another 100 million? We probably can't afford that on the positions I just listed, or do you spend 10 million, maybe 20 million in total, or whatever it is going to be between sacking staff and hiring new staff? Um, that's the cheaper option,
Is the cheapest
and
option actually losing 10 points and just scraping survival in the Premier League?
maybe. Maybe, although I wouldn't risk it. I don't think we could actually risk that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so it's honestly just doesn't really. Yeah, it's absolutely dire. And the worst bit is that I don't. There's because it's all youngsters and potential. There's no sign of things turning around anytime soon. Um, And then there's a lot of talk. There's now rumors starting to come out that Enzo Fernandez wants to go.
I mean, who
Um,
wouldn't want to go? Realistically, I wouldn't be
yeah,
surprised if Romeo Lavia is like, I'm sick of this. I need to leave.
I don't know why we signed him.
I don't know why he signed him either. I don't know why he picked you. Nope. Nobody knows anything.
I kind of like I kind of get it for squad depth, but like there's so many players that you're just like Ugu um,
Yeah.
he's all these players seem okay within the context of like a well-oiled machine of a squad. Like I'm sure if all of them were put up for sale, majority of them would be going to other top six clubs, um, as like
Mm.
good squad players with potential, or they'd be going into like starting for top half teams.
Yeah, that's more accurate.
I know. I think a lot of them would be like, well, you were literally looking to buy Lavia, so
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. Not sure.
Mudryk, I don't know. I don't know why Mudryk would end up. I have no idea where. Like
Saudi
he
Arabia.
wouldn't get he wouldn't get in ahead of Hudson-Odoi at Nottingham Forest. So like that's how far down the league we're looking here.
Look, the future is a big unknown. In terms of how many of those can be a success at Chelsea and have like really good careers is to be seen. It is to be seen. In my personal opinion, it is not worth changing from Mauricio Pochettino now. What is worth doing is just dumping this season and starting a process now of planning the next 3 years.
Feels about the third season that we've done that.
But they haven't though.
Yeah.
Like the problem is that they haven't. They just kept buying random players.
Yeah.
But
the issue now is that all the fans, what you're saying to the fans is, guys, we just have to be patient again. Trust the process. And it's the third year, and I'm totally on board with you, Ali. But I just don't think it's a realistic option for the Chelsea board to do.
Yeah, having spent everything, they need immediate success. They don't even want immediate success.
But that's the thing. We haven't gone for immediate success at all. That's the most stupid thing about the signings that we've made. Like the
signings don't gear towards immediate success, but the amount of money spent has to result in success. Like it has to result in trophies.
The two big signings in Caicedo and Enzo, you'd expect those two to come in and be, although they're young, to be good enough to be able to hit the ground running. That's why they cost that amount, because they should be good enough to just be great from the get go.
Final question on this: if Chelsea win Carabao Cup later this month against Liverpool, does the plot change? Do Chelsea fans view this as sort of a success now?
Massively so. I think so. I think we're at the point where to beat Liverpool and win a trophy, I think that could change the whole atmosphere. Because I do think a lot of it is just a negativity and a poor atmosphere. Like I can't imagine the players are looking forward to playing at the weekend. Do you know what I mean? There must be an awful lot of dread and anxiety playing for Chelsea at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's been happening ever since Bodie took over. You could go back a little bit further than that, potentially. We've never been too far away from this feeling for probably since we last won the league. You know, including the Champions League. That's almost like an anomaly. That was a good 6 months.
Yeah.
And then everything apart from that has been like, you know, we're getting top four, which we would, you know, bite your hand off for now. But so to go back to your point, to win some silverware for this young team, I think the fact that the team that it is, it'd be a great springboard for this young team to get some confidence and go on from there. And Mourinho always used to talk about the Carabao Cup as the first trophy, the first taste of winning. In a bigger view of winning lots of trophies in the future, the Carabao Cup's a great one to win first.
Yeah. Right. Speaking of Chelsea's opponents in the Carabao Cup final, Liverpool, we did lose at the weekend to Arsenal, 3-1. Now, I spoke about this game in a Twitter space at JLAFC, and some of the narratives that are coming out of this game are winding me up a bit, Fergal, and I just wanted to address them.
Well, like Van Dijk's done.
Like Van Dijk's done, like Alisson like chokes in title runs, and Gravenberch has been a flop. Those three in particular.
Can I just say on Van Dijk? Was he just really? Is he just really cocky or something?
No, he is confident, and he takes risks, and sometimes those risks don't pay off. But the vast majority of the time they do. But
whenever I say, but the defending he done, it wasn't like he was taking a risk. But the risk was I won't run as hard as I should do.
No, the risk was leaving the ball. He admitted himself post game, which if he is an arrogant player, he wouldn't do. But he admitted after the game that I blamed Alisson and then heard Van Dijk and was like, oh, yeah, you're right. Okay. You've admitted that now. In the second goal, he let it bounce. And that's the risk, because he risked or like he took a chance on Alisson coming out and getting to the ball so he can get some distance on the clearance. But the fact that he let it bounce, Alisson came in late.
I'm talking about the last goal.
The last goal is also a mistake because I think it's indecision.
He just doesn't run.
No, he does. I think
he didn't run for the first one either.
Look. Okay. Van Dijk had a terrible game. But is that because he's arrogant? No, it's not. It's because he made mistakes. It's something that happens to professional players.
I don't think it was a mistake. A mistake is like a decision. It came across like really lazy, or like his decision was not to sprint, or he didn't sense the danger in really obvious moments.
No,
and just didn't go full tilt.
You are waffling. In the third goal, he gets caught up on whether he's gonna go for the near post, which is why he sticks his leg out in the final moment and then the ball hits his toe, or whether he's gonna cross it, which he was trying to cross block the lane for Trossard to cross. So what ends up happening is he sticks his leg out. He's looking at he's defending against Trossard.
But he could have. I watched it back before we came on. He doesn't go full sprint at any point
because he doesn't need to. If he's blocking the lane for the cross, he doesn't need to.
He did. They just scored.
Well, they scored because Van Dijk made a mistake and stuck his leg out. Van Dijk and Alisson wasn't closing his near post well enough. That ball should.
But he wouldn't have needed. Alisson wouldn't have needed to have been used if Van Dijk had just tried a bit harder.
Well, if he
watch it back. Well, I implore anybody to watch it back. Watch Van Dijk in the third goal. He doesn't sprint until very late on. He jogs back, and Trossard is there just bearing down on goal at a tight angle. I give you that, but it's like Van Dijk's just like, I'll just dawdle back here and let Alisson deal with it. And maybe it works for most of the time. But I thought, whenever I watched it back, I was like, Van Dijk really isn't going full tilt. Yeah, and if he just goes full tilt, it's a double man on Trossard. They're not getting past the two of them. Or he's not getting past the two of them. And it cuts out any pass that Trossard would make. Trossard, in fact, would probably have to double back if he got, because he got close to him in the end, but he didn't sprint. So if he had a sprinter from the get-go, I think the chance doesn't happen. And then in the first goal, not that it was his, I don't know if he would have made any difference, but again, he didn't sprint back. I feel like if he had have sprinted back in defence, I watched this back in hindsight after noticing the third goal. I went back and watched the other ones and see what he done. The first goal as well, he did same sort of half jog, trying to cover for the person at the back post. I feel like if he had got back sooner, Liverpool may have been able to shuffle across and get out to the right wing, which is where the goal came from.
I think you're being incredibly harsh. I think you're being
I don't.
incredibly harsh.
For the
Given the
standard
fact that
that Van
we're
Dijk is held
already
to,
we
I don't think it's
are
harsh.
acknowledging the fact that Van Dijk had a poor game and made mistakes for all 3 goals. But you're pinning it down to laziness, which is waffle. Sorry, it's not right.
Watch it back now and tell me when he sprints. Watch it.
He doesn't have to sprint to show he's working hard. He doesn't have to keep going, like, sprinting all the time. If he sprints into the Trossard goal, maybe Trossard, chops it on his right foot and Van Dijk is totally sold. He doesn't go full speed so he can catch up.
Who's waffling now? You're talking about ifs and buts. I'm talking about what happened, Ali. I've given you an example of exactly what's happened.
That happened. I told you already why he doesn't sprint, and I'm doing air quotes here, and you're responding to that point, and then I'm saying, well, if he had sprinted, what would have happened?
If he sprints it, he cuts it out. It's a 2-on-1, and no. it's
in the third goal, if he sprints, Trossard chops it back to his right foot, and Virgil Van Dijk is totally sold. And that's something that has happened before to Virgil Van Dijk.
Hang on, if he cuts back, if Trossard cuts back, whoever was chasing after him would get him.
And then that gives it that someone like Konate, for example, goes and tackles Trossard, which gives some space in the penalty area for someone else to make a run.
There's no one up there with him.
Well, they would have caught up, Fergal. Good Lord.
But then Liverpool would have got back. You're chatting. I'm offended you saying I'm chatting. Well, you're talking about ifs and buts. What I'm saying is way more simple. If he sprints, because he gets close to him. If he had started sprinting from the get go, he cuts out the shot. He doubles at the very least, Ali. They double up on Trossard. It's a lot harder for Trossard to score at a tight angle. Instead, they basically let Trossard have a free shot, and I think a large part of it is Van Dijk didn't sprint back. He didn't sense the danger. I don't know how he didn't sense the danger. It looks in both situations. It looked like he gave up on the situation very early. He was like, well, this looks like a dangerous chance. I'm not going to be able to affect this that much. And he just sort of half jogged.
Bullshit! Oh my gosh!
I'm surprised as well, Andy. I thought Van Dijk was better than that, but that's how it came across to me.
Then you're being unrealistic. That is just you're making assumptions.
I am. That bit is a bit of waffle. I'll give you that. But he still should have sprinted. I just don't understand why Van Dijk doesn't sprint. A great defender.
Again, the last thing I saw of this, he didn't need to sprint. He positioned himself. No.
The fact that a goal happens that he could have got a blocked means he should have sprinted.
Oh my days. I don't know. Watch it back again. Doesn't need
I've watched it back 2 or 3 times. You need to watch it back. You haven't watched it back since I raised this point.
I'm recording the episode. Anyway. Okay, that seems like something we'll not agree on.
No.
Wow, we've went on about this for like 5 minutes. Right, Short King of the Week. Before we started recording, you said you already had your Short King of the Week. Mine could be Neil Maupay, given he's scored a goal against Man City. It is still 1-0 as we speak, going into halftime. It's the 46th minute right now. But I don't have anyone that immediately jumps to mind. Unless you say someone that I'm like, oh, wow, how didn't I think of this?
The two that spring to my mind are Gary O'Neill, of course.
Yes.
And another Wolves man, Pedro Neto. I thought Pedro Neto was very good against Chelsea. So I'd probably say because Gary, everybody knows he's the OG or the GO. And
very good.
Thank you. So I think I'll go Pedro Neto over Gary this time.
Yeah, giving it to Gary O'Neill would be unfair at this point. Like, we know he is the king of short kings.
He's the top short king. Unless some of these guys reach new heights, so to speak.
Yeah.
Gary Neal's the bookie's favourite to get short king of the season, I think.
I actually wouldn't disagree at all. Yeah, there we go. Pedro Neto wins short king of the week.
Who got it
again.
last year? Was it Ward-Prowse?
It was James Ward-Prowse. That's one of my biggest regrets from the podcast altogether. Oh, Man City have scored. It's 1-1. My short king of the week isn't up by anymore.
Was there anybody short?
It was Phil Foden. I don't know how
Yeah.
he is.
Yeah, he's
I think
it's good to see two short people score.
He might have won short king of the week before at some point, but Pedro Neto it is this time. Subscribe to Just Another Football Podcast, guys, because this coming weekend there is so much happening, and we will hopefully be, all being well, reacting to it all. There is the AFCON final. There is the Asia Cup final. There is Leverkusen, Bayern Munich. There is... Oh, we didn't cover Xabi Alonso, didn't we, this episode? It's just it's a shame.
There's the National Football League final as well.
The National Football League final, also known as the Super Bowl. We will not be reacting to that particular game.
Hey, I might be watching it. We'll see.
I will be watching it too. I'll be watching it with my dad. Actually, it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. What's your prediction for the Super Bowl final?
Kelsey FC. The Kansas City Chiefs will win it yet again.
Go Swifties. That's what I say.
Sure. I don't oppose that. But so yeah, there's so much happening. Real Madrid Girona, it's happening. Real Madrid Girona and Bayern Munich Leverkusen are playing at the same time on the same day. It's incredible. Saturday, you like bring on Saturday. It's gonna be so much fun. And there we are.
What stage is AFCON at? Is it semi-finals?
It is the semi-final at the moment. Yeah.
So who do you think is going to be in the final?
My finalists are. We'll just go Nigeria, Ivory Coast, and Ivory Coast to win it.
Ivory Coast. You think in fairness, if I was going to beat, it's difficult. If I was going to beat two animals, eagle versus elephant, it's like if the eagle wasn't allowed to fly above a certain height, I'd definitely give it to the elephant. You know.
Okay.
But then if there's no height limit, if the eagle could fly as high as he wanted, then I think over time maybe the eagle might be able to like slowly but surely pluck away at him or like strike. It might be years of a battle, you know.
Yeah.
But so I think I'll go for Ivory Coast as well, home nation, and it's the Ireland flying backwards, so that's good enough for me.
Brilliant piece of football analysis to end the show, Fergal. As always, you do. Thank you very much. Welcome back to the show. I promise it has been recorded this time.
It's recorded. Record great. Okay.
Yeah, I do promise that. Yeah, fantastic. We'll see you next week when all of that football has happened. Asia Cup champion will have been decided. AFCON champion will have been decided. The title race will have taken a brand new shape in Spain and in Germany, and possibly in England. And we'll see you when all of that happens. Cheers.